What's up, y'all? Welcome back to MSM Audio. I'm Tim. Thank y'all for tuning in. Today, I'm reviewing the FL Studio chord progression tool. This is probably one of my favorite tools right now. It works really well for generating chord progressions quickly, new ideas quickly, and also being able to manipulate those chords in different ways with arpeggios or chopping them. And it just gives you a lot of freedom and manipulation to create quickly. So let's jump right in. I'm using Flex right now. I have a brass sound queued up. And the way you want to open the tool is hold Alt, press P, pops right up. And immediately, once I saw this, the user interface stood out. You know, I'm really big on user interfaces. I don't like when things are too busy. This is really simple, yet very powerful. So right off the bat, this works for me. I love the user interface. So, and as you can see already, it has a chord progression queued up. Here on this tab, you can right click, go to edit, and you can choose your key, choose your scale. A lot of different options here. You have a solo button, so if you have other patterns playing, you can make sure you solo out this particular pattern. This tool here, you can select the main and the bass. So right now, both are chosen, but if you just wanted to play the bass, you could take out the main and vice versa. And then here, generate button that you can use to generate different types of chords. So let me go into the key that I liked for this sound, which was, I think it was minor melodic, right? Yeah, I think so. Okay. And this icon right here is highlighted by default. And what it does is once you hit generate, so now I have a chord here in minor melodic. Let's just play it really quick. Right, so if you don't like that one, you can hit generate again and it will rework a new progression for you. Okay, now, and it stays in key. This next icon, the dice icon, is really like a randomizer, and I love randomizers too, you know, just to, explore, have fun, and just see what you can come up with. Now, it cycles through all of the keys, all of the scales as you hit generate. So you got F minor, G minor. You see the different types of chords and progressions that it comes up with, right? Well, let me go back to my scale. E, minor melodic. This icon here is an analyze icon. So if, for instance, right, if you have a melody here, right, let's just say C, E, G, S, B, right, open the tool, click analyze. Now it will develop a progression based around your melody. All right, let's see. Now that's simple, but you get the idea. If you want to make it more complex, if you have a more complex melody, it will still develop a chord progression based around the melody that you have there. In this area here, conventional, adventurous, the more you go conventional, the progressions that are generated will be more basic. Whereas if you go adventurous, and just to demonstrate, see, these are all C chords. Let's take it up a little further. Let's go more adventurous. Okay, then you see they start to get more complicated. You have an E minor with an add flat 6, E minor, A minor. Okay. Then you start getting augmented chords, add chords, sus chords, and they start to get a little bit more complex progressions and complex chords. Over here, you can adjust your chord count, right? And you can adjust the octave here. These two highlighted arrows, the one up and down is highlighted right now. So as I change the octave, the progression here moves an octave. But if I deselect it, any new generated chords will be impacted. And the same thing with the length here. You can choose from beat, 2 beats, bar, 2 bars, and it's essentially your piano roll, as you can see. Now, on the chords themselves, you have a lock button here. So say you generate a chord progression and you actually like how this chord sounds, you can lock it in. So when you click generate, those chords won't change. Here, you can adjust the inversion of the chord. Just drag up or down, and it will adjust the chord to give you a different inversion. Here is a regenerate button, so you can change the chords individually. So you may like, 3 out of the 4, 2 out of the 4, and you can regenerate those chords individually. And then here you have an option to adjust the bass note off and on. And you can also right click inside of the chord, and it brings up this menu where you can preview the chord. Right? You can also hold Alt and right click to preview the chord. You can lock from here. You can select and deselect the main notes and also the bass notes. You can regenerate from here. Show alternatives, which brings up a menu for alternatives to the chords that are generated. And again, here you can right click to hear previews, right? Okay, and now for this one, actually, let's generate a new chord because I don't like how that augmented chord sounds. So let's generate something different. Let's see how this sounds. Let's keep going, see what else. Okay, it's good for now. Okay, let's go to this last chord here. So you can add a passing chord, right? And it splits the chord into 2, creating a passing chord. And let's see how that sounds. Okay, and then here you have an undo button. This is just a zoom button for your chord. So let's undo that. What else do we have here? Again, you can select a chord. If you want to change a specific chord, you can go to the drop-down menu and select a chord that you want to add, or you can type in a chord name. If you want to type in a chord name, you can type it in as well, or you can learn from MIDI, and you'll see this, the chord turn green, and you can type in, or play a chord rather, for it to learn the new chord. Again, You can invert from here if you want to move them up, move the notes down. Also, you can transpose from here. You can transpose the bass. You can also fix the bass note so that it doesn't change. If you want to choose which key you want the bass key to be in, you can choose it there, have it fixed so that it doesn't move. You can add extra notes or extensions, right? You can add one note, right? See, it goes from a C major to an add 9, add minor 9. Then you can do 2 notes, right? And add 6 and the flat 9th. And then you have 3 notes as well, right? So you add 3 additional notes, and you can also remove 1 note as well. So you have a lot of different options to manipulate the chords and make things interesting. Also, we have some voicing options here. The default is block. You have open, that spreads the notes out a little bit more. Okay. Then you also have octave and stacked, which just plays the same chord twice in a different octave. Then you have snap existing notes. So for instance, let's see. Let me close this. All right. Go back to Alt P. So I have that melody there, right? Let me change the key. The key is already changed. So if I right click and go to snap existing notes, right? Let me move this out the way. I don't know if you can see it. All right, let me do it a little bit differently. I'll leave those notes there, go back in, change this to, let's change it to C major, all right? Oops, hold on, I want to do that. All right. Let me, hold on, let me close out of this. Let me delete this, right? Delete all of these. All right. So let me move the, what note is this? Is this a B? Should be a B. All right, let me move this B and make it a D. So instead of it being a major 7th of C, E, G, and B, I moved that to D. So it's out of the chord right now, right? Right now I'm in C major. I'm gonna right click it and it's gonna snap the existing notes. So any notes that are outside of the chord notes will be snapped in to the chord, the notes of the chord, right? So you see it goes from the B to, what is that? Looks like an E. So now it meets the criteria of the C chord, which is C, E, and G. So it goes from B, any notes that are outside of the chord notes, they get snapped into the chord notes. What else we have here? Note linking. If you want to paste your piano notes, your existing piano notes into the block, you can click link and it pastes your notes into the block. And then you can also unlink to get them out as well and continue to make your changes to your chord. And then you have some actions here. Copy. If I wanted to take this chord, copy it and paste it, you can do that as well. Control C, Control V works also. And if you want to swap some chords, let's say you wanted to swap A minor with E minor, you can swap with the right chord, and they'll swap them out. So, you have some good options here. Then this drop down arrow brings up the alternative chord window, and you can have your options here for alternative chords. If you don't like these, there's a rework button here that you can click and it will continue to generate some alternative options for you. Down here, you have an option to adjust the names of the chord from absolute to relative, Roman numeral, or not. And you can adjust the snap here as well. And what else? And you can also, because it's essentially the piano roll, so you can adjust the size of your chords here as well. Let's see, did I miss anything here? Got the menu. Now, down on these tabs, in the preset tab, you have some presets here for different chord progressions, right? Major, minor. You can see I added a couple myself, right? So if you just choose one, you can add it in. Let's delete this. So you can cycle and try the different types of chords if you like. Right? They have different rhythms here. Or you can type in a progression yourself. So if I wanted to type one in, you can type it in yourself, do it that way. Now, then there's the performance and advanced tabs. Now, with the performance tabs, right, you can choose between ARP, chop, humanize, and baseline. So you get even more control and manipulation over the chords, right? So let me open up a different project that I have. This is something that I was working on, just exploring the tool. And let me just play it for you real quick. Right, so instead of just having a basic chord structure where you're just, 1, 2, 3, 4, like now you get not only different ideas for chord progressions really easily, you can now, break up those chords. You can arpeggiate them, you can chop them, humanize them. They have the option for baseline. So whether you're advanced or not, if you're more advanced in music theory and chord progressions, then you'll easily be able to manipulate this tool, add your own chords back and forth. Or if you're still more in the learning phase like myself, it definitely speeds up idea creation, identifying different chord progressions, and you can do it very easily. And then once you come up with a chord progression, you can now start to experiment with these different tabs and make things a little bit more interesting. So let's start with ARP, right? You have all these different features here. So I'm just going to cycle through them just to show how you can manipulate your chord. I'm just going to cycle through these parameters. So let's go. Okay. Then let's check out the chop section. And as you're cycling through these different options, if you come up with a pattern that you like, you can save it. As you can see, I have a user preset I saved here as I was just exploring this. You can save it, save your own, and of course you have a bunch of different options here to cycle through for inspiration as well. So now let's move on to the chop portion. And again, I'm just going to cycle through these different parameters so you can get a feel of how they sound. Okay. Now let's check out the Humanize tab. Right. Let's take it to this chord. And again, I'm going to cycle through. And as you're using it, again, don't forget to save if you come up with a pattern that you like, so you can save it and apply it to different songs if you'd like to. All right. So let's check out these parameters for Humanize. Right, so you really start to see how not only can you create chords quickly, but you can manipulate them in a number of different ways to start coming up with some creative ideas. So, and baseline, and first of all, this tool was only used for, I think, from FL Studio 2024, but in 2025, they added this baseline portion to it. So let's go to the first chord and let's cycle through and see how we can adjust the baseline with these parameters here to add even more interest. Right, so again, I'm just messing around here. So if you really have a good idea going and you want to create some variety, you want to create some interest, there's plenty that you can do here. Clean, simple user interface, quick chord generation, and a number of different ways to manipulate the chords. If you have your own melodies, again, you can use the tool to analyze your melody and come up with supporting chords. If you don't like the chords, you can just continue to click generate to come up with different types of chords, and you can edit your own chords if you know which chords you want to add. There's just so much here that you can do. And then once you have your progression, you can go to each block, you can arpeggiate, chop it, work with the bass line, humanize different portions. So there's not much that you can't do in terms of, creating interest and making things, you know, making things, give the listener a different experience. So now we'll move on to the Advanced tab. And here you have your Fix Generate Seed, where when selected, the tool will try to maintain some consistency as you're making changes to the parameters here, and it generates new chords. Whereas when it's deselected, the results are more random. Here you have a substitute and add option here for suspended chords and added chord extensions, and you can use this dial here to adjust the frequency of how much they'll be included in your progressions. And if you look at the conventional and adventurous dial here, you'll see it adjust and go more adventurous as I increase the frequency of the potential of the extensions, and it goes down as I decrease as well. Here, you can choose the minimum or maximum of the extensions that can be added per chord. Non-diatonic notes, as you increase it, the chords generated will have more chord extensions and notes that are out of scale. You increase those chances. Analysis context, the tool will consider the progression as a whole as opposed to individual chords and any pre-existing notes that exist. You have your sampling temperature, where as you increase it, the chords will get more unusual chord progressions and unusual transitions. As you decrease it, to get more common. And your looping bias, where if you increase it, the chord progressions are more common, or where you decrease it, the tool is more experimentative. And here you have your chord repeats, where as you increase, there's more of a chance for repeated chords in your new progression. So I'll just cycle through a few just so you get an idea of how this sounds. Let's leave it random and let's turn the frequency down. All right. All right, let's see what this generates. Let's hear it. All right, now let's turn this on, switch to substitute. Let's go with a higher frequency. Let's do less non-diatonic notes, increase the context. Let's go a little more common, but more experimentative on the looping bias. And let's increase the chord repeats a little bit. Generate, let's see. So as you can see, there is a wealth of creativity that can come from this tool, in my opinion, whether you're advanced or, if you're still learning, or if you're more, have more moderate skills, whatever level you're at, I believe that this is a tool that can be helpful. Create chord progressions quickly. You can quickly cycle through keys, scale, and, once you start to get to these tabs here between the presets, You know, all of the different options that they give you for progression, rhythm, enter your own progression, then performance, you know, Arp, Chop, Humanize, Baseline, and the Advanced tab. There's really too much here to do, right? So ultimately, I definitely think you should give it a shot, give it a try. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. I'm pretty sure you'll find a way to use it. There's so much that you can do here. So thank y'all for tuning in. Stay positive, stay purposeful, stay creative, stay confident. Most of all, keep going. See you on the next one. MSM Audio.